that starts.
And as we were talking about transactions, it's real interesting right now. There are the national average right now is 20% of the transactions are falling out of contract.
Oh,
and
that's a lot.
20% is a really big number. And now I don't know if that's necessarily true here. However, I just had one that fell out of contract. And you try to do everything you can and be innovative and come up with ideas of how to keep it together. But this was, a 20% number is very large. And so I started to think, what are the real key factors? What's the hardest part of selling? Mm-hmm. And I really don't think it's, negotiating. I really enjoy that part of it. The pricing strategies, all those things are really great. And I don't think that's the hard part. The hard part, I really broke them down into 3 things. And that would be expectations, emotions, and your perspective. And what I mean by first with expectations are, let's say you're driving your car around and you notice that maybe the back right window doesn't work anymore. The button, you push the button, it doesn't work, and you're like, it doesn't work, I'll roll down the other 3, right? So you kind of live with it. Well, your home's the same way. There are a lot of things you have going on in your home and you just live with it. We've had we have a few things where you just kind of live with it. So just know that when a buyer comes in and they have some inspections, they don't have that expectation or know the history of, well, I've just been living with it that long, it should be fine. I've lived with it, they should be able to live with it. But that's not the right expectation, really. So that's a problem, our expectations. And then emotions are pretty self-explanatory, but you dump a lot of time and usually money into your property. And that's it can become offensive when you have a buyer that's done a bunch of inspections and they say, this doesn't work, this doesn't work, this doesn't work. It becomes emotional, and you're like, you know what?
You're like,
yeah, it's like, that's not right. So emotions, you have to really look at it from a business perspective and look at it from a numbers standpoint. And I know that can be hard, and it's very human nature to become emotional, especially if I can't even imagine. We've been in our home now 22 years?
21 almost years. 22 years.
So, boy, you talk about if you ever sell that home, you got a lot of memories and a lot of emotions built up into that. So it's hard, but you do have to step back and try to take those emotions out of the process of it. And then perspective. And what I want to talk about on perspective is, I have a buyer that's moving here from California. He's military. He's going to be out at F.E. Warren. And so we've done everything like video, FaceTime. That's how I showed it. They have not been in the house. And so the perspective is, if you want to put yourself in the buyer's situation sometimes to think they're not trying to be really hard-nosed about trying to get some of these things fixed and that. They're just trying to